there's something about an investigation occurred in Sojourner 2000, and that video was leaked, and it was leaked just before the FPC was going to vote on your appointment. And I just want to quote what you said in the paper, what you are quoted as saying in the paper. When a member of our Oversight Commission provides criminal defense in a matter being investigated by our department, places our members in an extremely difficult position and risks compromising the integrity of the investigation. Chief, what about the integrity of the people that were involved in that incident and how their integrity was compromised and their identities were compromised by the leak that occurred in your department? Have you initiated an internal investigation into how this video was leaked? Who leaked it? When was it leaked? Do you care about the integrity of the department? Do you understand how this leak damages the integrity of the police department? And if you do not get it, I don't know what I'm sorry, I'm going on too long. Please tell us if you have initiated an investigation into this critical video that was leaked by your department.
I didn't leak any video. We're looking into it, and we're always looking at preventative measures for things like this happening.
I do want to remind everyone, if you're aware of anything that's currently under investigation, the police department is not at liberty to discuss about things that are under investigation. So, just refer your question if you do want to find out more.
I didn't leak the video. Somebody in your department.
Well, yeah, and that's why they're investigating that.
But he didn't say that. He
Right.
wasn't going to answer if there's anybody investigating this.
Right. Well, like I said, there's nothing, which is, you know.
There you have it. There you have it. There's your chief.
Well, I think it's more than that, but let's move on. You have another question?
Giselle Vera.
Hello, my name is Giselle Vera and I'm with Voces de la Frontera. I have a question in regards of the Relentless Pursuit Policy program. And I just want to know what's the strategy in place to make sure that this program does not become a resource to continue to criminalize the community and ensure that it's effective and it doesn't bring negative implications to the poor, the immigrant, African American community, etc.
Okay, we're still looking at how we're going to apply for grant money that comes from Washington, D.C. We always work with our federal partners, all law enforcement agencies. We're going to work in conjunction with that system partnership and the strategy that I displayed above. I don't understand when you talk about criminalization. Police are not involved in criminal behavior. We also investigate criminal behavior.
I did want to ask something in regards to something that you said during your speech, which was, did you guys often call off pursuits? I was just curious, what criteria do you use to call off a pursuit?
The question she's asking is the relentless pursuit, which is grant money, correct?
Right, but that's.
Well, your question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You said earlier that you guys do call off pursuits.
Yes.
And I was curious as to what is your criteria to call off a pursuit?
We have a number of things that, and Assistant Chief Munson can add on, but we have a number of different things in policy that will call off pursuit. Speeds, the danger, other additional vehicles that are out to the community. There's large traffic that can cause additional hazards. The communication by the officer, weather conditions are some of many things that we look at for pursuing. So we do call them off when it doesn't fit within our policy, or we do call them off when it just gets too dangerous.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the next person, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Naxeli Johnson?
Hi, Cristiano Morales. The question here is, the Office of Violence Prevention has a strong partnership on the Southside. Do you believe that the Office of Violence Prevention has contributed to reducing violence in the city? Do you intend on supporting their efforts moving forward?
there's no one organization that should take credit, and I stated that in our PowerPoint. The community as a whole, there's different organizations throughout the city of Milwaukee that can take credit. There's individuals who have played a big role. So for one person to say, or one organization to say, we're the ones to be responsible for crime reduction is not the proper venue, and this isn't the proper venue because we're doing things as a team. And that's important to understand. As stated, and I see that the first three questions that we have here are some of them that are motivated, some by politics, some by other things. One of the things that I'm going to push right now and tell everyone that if you don't see what I mean in the presentation we have, I believe in the community. And one thing we can't do is allow organizations to politicize the position of the police department. We work with all groups that want to come to the table and help in crime reduction. And for other people to put themselves in positions where they want to politicize themselves, that's not what we're about.
I'd like to reiterate your question.
No disrespect, but that wasn't my question. I never said that they would take responsibility. I said that they contribute to the reducing violence in the city. Do you intend on supporting and continue in supporting their efforts?
I think I answered the question.
I guess is that clarification on your question?
So I believe to clarify, the question is, personally, Chief Morales, if you believe that the Office of Violence Prevention has contributed to reducing violence in the city.
When you say personally, I don't have any data for that piece. And like I said, we're going to give credit to all organizations. This is not a place where we go and give individual credit to anybody for our crime reduction. We work as a team, and as I stated, that group does work with District 3, 5, and 7. So it's not like we're saying we're not working with individuals. And like I said, I don't have the data here to show that, to say yes or no.
A question that was sent to us from the audience. In 2019, 228 officers died by suicide, the highest number yet, 24% increase. Line of duty deaths were 135 in 2019. Will Milwaukee Police expand their chaplain programs to have chaplains embedded as a source of their civilian sworn members? And that's from Elizabeth Ibarra.
Yes, we have a police chaplain, a police psychologist. This is one area that we have evolved in the 21st century. As I stated, this is one thing that it's in our presentation. We're going to continue to do the best we can in officer wellness. We need our officers to be healthy, both mentally and physically. What we forget is oftentimes officers respond, and they can respond as resources get limited from one call to a crisis to another call to a crisis to another call to a crisis. And that can have an impact on the individual officers. And the chaplaincy program, the psychologists that we have, they've done a lot of proactive work at reaching out to the districts and helping our officer wellness. We'll continue to see if we can grow on that, but obviously that all comes with the amount of resources we have or what we have financially to spend.
Okay, so we have a question from Tommy, and I think last name Molina.
Hello, Chief Morales. I hope that with my question, you don't equivocate and you just give me a straight answer. I don't think it's been justice what you've done to Paul. We just saw Max Haley here. But what I will say is, I was looking at what you said on the north side last week. You said we don't accomplish anything by one individual alone, and I agree with that. I think to a large degree what happened with the SOP 130 in the fall, it was because the community came together and pushed back against a lot of what you were bringing forward. And I think a lot of this process could be mitigated in the future if we had a working group where organizations on the south side, organizations like UMOS, organizations like Southside, like SOC and LBN and the churches came together and had conversations at the table instead of kind fiasco of what we had at City Hall. So my question would be, would you commit to meeting monthly with organizations on the south side like those that I named, so that we could begin to address some of our most pressing needs?
In our police department, and I did state that earlier when we showed the pictures, we have countless amount of community meetings. That is a table where conversations get started. Each district captain, each captain in other work locations is responsible for interjecting in town hall meetings, getting involved in town hall meetings, or even target team meetings. That's where, when we talk about community policing, and we have 7 different districts, we do a ton of work in inviting conversation pieces to start there. There has to be a starting point, and we task our leadership in the police department to engage with the community. Things have to get started there. To ask for commitment in my position, well, this is a lot of moving parts. And the biggest piece with the department is running the department. I tell you, I get out more in the community than anyone else has ever been able to boast as chief of police, and I'm going to continue. But to commit with monthly meetings with the schedule I have would be very difficult, which is why I have an executive staff here and command staff at the district level. You're telling me to take their authority and autonomy, and that's what we're all about.
Would you send a representative?
We send representatives to all community meetings, and in fact, we asked you, as we stated, or I don't know if you represent Moses, but we've asked Moses to go to our community meetings. Because what I've often said is, policy does not correct or help community relations. Good community relations come from the community getting involved in their districts, getting involved with the police officers in the neighborhoods, and that's what we do at the districts.
Another question from the audience. This one's from Southside, I believe, Collier. With Illinois recently legalizing marijuana, Wisconsin is the only state in the surrounding states to have it completely illegal without medical value. Do you think that the MPD should continue to spend its resources on persecuting, especially people of color, for marijuana?
As it's against the law, we as a law enforcement agency cannot ignore what's against the law and what is the law. We have to abide by the law and follow the rules.
All right, so we have a question from D-Milw. Ezekiel?
Ezekiel? To the bottom, see what else. We have another question here, is from Andrea Rodriguez. What are your immediate next steps regarding the CC rep and regarding meetings with the community?
I believe you're saying the CCC.
Yeah, excuse me, the CCC, REPNT.
We're conducting research about that, on that piece, and I think that was discussing community policing. Is that correct, Regina, the CCC?
I'm not really sure what that question is, but.
Andrea, you want to kind of help us with that question? Oh, she left. Okay, sorry about that.
We're still researching and we're looking for best practices from other cities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next question from Rashida Butter Jackson.
Please forgive us if we butcher your names.
That's fine, no offense. Good evening, Chief. I just have a question about the meeting that occurred on the north side. I'm wondering if there's been any discussion amongst you or members of the department to re-offer that meeting at maybe a more neutral space where you don't have a moderator that's a former law enforcement or a space that's not religious, so people feel comfortable attending. And I don't know if you all got any feedback about that, but I know that a lot of people felt uncomfortable with the way that, so I'm just wondering if you all have any plans to maybe rehost that meeting?
I did not schedule those meetings. These are meetings scheduled on behalf of the Fire and Police Commission.
Okay, perfect.
Then I was gonna say something.
Yes.
Okay, then.
I did email about that.
Interestingly enough, so the meetings were set by the staff of the FPC, who I am very grateful for their participation because I asked for it to be set up and they just set it up. Later on, I received the feedback about the criticism of it being in a church, and the criticism of the pastor having had a background in law enforcement. So with that being said, you're asking for a redo. I don't necessarily know that there will be a redo, but what I will take into consideration, because it was so important for people to have their voices heard within that community, and there was a feeling that there wasn't anything being heard, and it was not the appropriate setting. And taking that into consideration, once this is done, reevaluate with the rest of the staff, and kind of redo, but not total redo may occur. Okay? Thank you.
I'm sorry, here's another one, I'm gonna put your, I think it says Esperanza Gutierrez. And said, just wanted to say thank you. Very concerned about the lack of all people, not following, driving laws. What steps are being placed to, in the future, plans for this problem?
One of the things, Assistant Chief Michael Brunson here, and I am the commander of the Patrol Bureau, which is the 7 districts, our Specialized Patrol Division, and our Office of Community Outreach and Education. One of the things that we want to focus on, obviously, heavily, is traffic enforcement. And we do that with our participation and collaboration with our system partners. I see Sheriff Lucas here. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office plays an important piece, along with the State Patrol and our other partners throughout the county in our reckless driving reduction initiative. And so initially, we focused during the summertime because that's when we saw the traffic was the worst. But now what we've done is we've continued that initiative onto the fall and even into the winter. We did have a decrease overall in the number of fatal incidents from crashes compared to last year. We had 51 persons killed this year compared to 57. However, 6 of the 51 were individuals 17 years of age or younger. In 2018, it was only 1. So even though there was a decrease, when you see 4 and 6-year-olds and 5 months old that lose their life because of reckless driving, then obviously that's too much for our community. So one of the most important things is education. That's what we really have to focus on, is education. Just like the chief talked about earlier, as far as people driving too fast, a lot of the incidents that we see, it's not necessarily the hardened criminals that are committing some of these heinous acts that we see. It's individuals who are just operating too fast. And driving 25 miles over the speed limit can be considered reckless driving. And I just want to make this point too, because this came up at the last meeting. Reckless driving is not a felony as far as the first offense. It's a municipal citation. However, it does carry 6 points. Well, if you get 2 citations for that, then you can lose your license. You will lose your license if you get 12 points in a 12-month period. So there are serious ramifications for individuals who break traffic laws. Now, if you cause injury, that's when it becomes a felony. So I just want to make that correction now, because there were some misconceptions during our last meeting. But we do take it very seriously. We believe in education. We do have a summit coming up where we'll be focusing on getting the young people. We believe that MPS and their decision over the last few years to bring back driver's education is extremely important for our community, because it has to start at a young age. And I would even say at the elementary school level, as far as having kids understand how to cross the street properly with their parents, with adult supervision, all the way up to modeling that behavior when they become teenagers. Because a lot of times kids are going to do what they see their parents do. And we have too many people out here breaking traffic laws. The police are not going to be able to change this on their own. And so that's why we believe it's a collaborative. We believe in building coalitions, collaborations, partnership, and engagement to address this problem. We're not going to solve it on our own. We need your help. We need everyone here to talk to your relatives, friends, etc., about obeying the traffic laws, putting the phone down, wearing your seatbelts, etc., etc. Only through those measures, combined with our enforcement efforts and engineering, are we going to change this situation in this city. Thank you.
We have another question from Patrick Malarkey.
Well, first of all, from everybody here, thank you to the Fire Police Commission, to the chief, the command staff, also all the police officers that are here. As a community, we should thank for having this meeting. Second of all, as has been heard by everyone, there is something going to happen in 6 months. And everyone's going to be looking at Milwaukee. The resources will naturally be centered in an area, and we need to know, yes, that is an important area, and I think as you would like to express, and the 7 districts and 190 neighborhoods we have, how can everyone be safe? I think it starts within. Everyone here has to try to be safe within, and then let that happen among the Milwaukee Police Department.
Yes, sir. What I can tell you is that the plan that we're working on for the National Convention, the Democratic Convention, it's going to require law enforcement resources, but none of the resources are going to be taken away from any neighborhood. The 7 districts are going to be patrolling with staffing levels. If not, they're probably going to be almost at full staffing levels. The DNC is our additional staffing. Milwaukee Police Department is not going to be off, and no member is going to be off during that time. We are all going to be working, all sworn, for that week and additional resources. And you're going to have the Sheriff's Department, the Milwaukee County Law Enforcement Agencies. You're going to have several law enforcement agencies throughout the state of Wisconsin, as well as law enforcement agencies outside of the state. That's why it takes so long in the planning stages to get everybody together, get everybody on the same page. But one thing I can assure the city of Milwaukee is that you will have staffing levels at the district to police the neighborhoods.
This question is from Cynthia Greenborough. The question is in regards to the issues of strip searching and treatment of persons of color. I know that often the Milwaukee Police Department gets accused of various actions of that, but is there a set policy as to what should be done and what should a citizen that feels that has been treated poorly need to do?
Well, that's 2 pieces. Yes, we have a strip search policy, and we have to have a executive levels or command staff to approve it before that occurs at the district. But we also, on the second piece to your question was,
what should they do to follow up?
A complaint about strip searches, there's, or a complaint period amongst the police department. There's various avenues that you can go about making a complaint. You can make a complaint at the district level, you can make a complaint through the Fire Police Commission, or you can make a complaint to our internal affairs.
That actually was meant for the person to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong pile. Well, yeah, we could revisit that. Did that get your question answered, or halfway, or?
No.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Chief Morales, I want you to please know, I have nothing personally against you. I just have concerns about what's going on in our city. You say don't criticize the police department, but we can't congratulate you when Sterling Brown was treated the way he was. He's still, now I guess, believe it's going to court. We have illegal searches, we have cavity searches that never should ever happen for any reason. We have men of color being gunned down and killed. I'm with Coalition of Justice, Namche Hamilton. There's a lady here, I believe, her loved one was blind and went out on the porch and was gunned down by MPD. Okay, with all that said and done, hold on, this is very important for the audience to know. We have a known sex offender who was a police officer, everybody knows who I'm talking about, scheduled to get out of prison in April or May. Would you please let the community know if he's going on the sex offender list, and if he is, where is he going to be in Milwaukee? because we have children who can't protect themselves, and he does drug the children. So we need to know that. We have never gotten an answer to that question. Is he gonna be on the sex offender list, and where, so we can let our parents and teachers know we have a long touch? Thank you.
One thing to add, and it's easily forgotten, I took over the leadership of this department in February of 2018. Each and every incident that was described did not occur under my watch. We're here to change the direction of the department and push it forward, making the corrections, the necessary corrections to make sure those things don't happen again. But oftentimes, I'm the one that gets blamed for it because I am the chief, and I get that. But we do that piece. The second part to that question, as far as communication, registered sex offenders, anybody who goes into jail for a sex offense and they come out, it's, it doesn't matter whether you're a former police officer or somebody off the streets or wherever, you all get treated the same, and that messaging comes from the Department of Corrections.
We have a question from D-Milw. David? Next question.
Some of these are repetitive, sorry. Have you, oops, I'm sorry, from Kathy Miles, excuse me. Have you considered talking, or, I'm sorry, I can't make that out, with the parents? You want to ask that question?
Yeah. My concern is, and I understand, thanks for having us, Chief. I understand that police are under a lot of stress and have a lot of things on their plates, but there's certain things that actually trouble me, and you have so many people in the community who are people who have raised their children to abide by laws, rules, and regulations, and then when it gets to the point that we are ready to leave our communities because the crime is so bad, that bothers me, and that's why I'm here today. So I was wondering, have you thought about, and where would we start with actually trying to make some new laws where there would be some parent accountability for some of these young adults that are committing a lot of these crimes? And as far as, this is probably a 2 or 3 part thing. I know you probably don't have time to hear all.
You have people that have mental anguish that have to live with this and cannot get a question answered.
Thank you.
Come
Thank
on.
you very much.
Come on. I appreciate you. Appreciate us for wanting to work with him and work with all of y'all. We're not against y'all.
I understand that, and I am not against you, and I appreciate
You against the community because you're not trying to hear our voices.
I understand that, and you voiced your opinion at the North Side.
No, I didn't. And you know what? After the meeting was over, I stepped to the stage, tried to talk to the chief, and he ignored me, and I called him 6 times. That's what we dealing with.
You and I.
Okay? That's what we dealing with. And the faster we get to the truth and start telling it, then we'll be okay.
Let's go.
I work for the Lord, so whatever comes my way, I am okay. I am riding with him.
Let's go.
The Father, Son,
I am a
Holy
commissioner.
Spirit, and
I am a
mercy.
commissioner.
And I arm myself in the armor of God, and I got the truth.
Let's go. Thank you.
Stop it. You want something to change? You want it to be better? Be
The next
better.
question is from John Rakowski. He says, what measurable evidence exists to support the noted MPD accomplishments of increased transparency to police legitimacy? Says, what measurable evidence exists to support the noted MPD accomplishments of increased transparency and police legitimacy?
Several. That's a long response when we talk about police legitimacy, and I can go on a number of different avenues, so I'm just going to hit a couple of points. When we do our research, our ShotSpotter data, we have areas in the city that have ShotSpotter we identify where those shots are fired. And when I say we use research, I'll give you an example. There was, when we first applied that type of technology in neighborhoods, there were no calls for service. So in other words, there was, and I'm not kidding, we would come in areas where multiple casings are being found, multiple shots are fired, and not one call for police. What people in those neighborhoods, when we talk about police legitimacy, what residents in those neighborhoods started realizing, when we started knocking on doors, did you hear or see what happened? And they realized that police were actually responding, because before that technology, a squad may drive by, but they weren't knocking on doors, they weren't conducting an investigation. And part of that investigation is to, again, interact with the community, find out what's going on, especially when our data started showing areas of high frequency of shots fired. What we noticed in these neighborhoods, and our research was, once we started doing that, the calls for service started increasing, which means the community started calling because the police was actually doing something about it. And that goes hand in hand with clearance rates. So when you do that, we were actually getting more calls. People were telling us more information. Or when we knocked on that door, we were getting more information. And part of that gun violence, part of those shots fired calls is included in our information for our shoot review. So we get a broader sense of who's pulling that trigger. And that individual that's creating fear in that neighborhood, when we're actually able to address that particular individual, that increases our legitimacy with the residents in the neighborhood that want to address the problem. So that's one example that I can provide you.
If I may, Director Regina Howard, I work in OMAP. Another example would be our outward-facing data. The Milwaukee Police Department historically has never shown up-to-date crime data on our website. Currently, our crime data is on our website and it's up to date within 24 hours. So that's another piece of outward-facing data that citizens can look at crime by police district. You can look at it by neighborhood, you can look at it by automatic district. You no longer need to call a police district and give any information about crime. You can look up your own neighborhood yourself and the information is there for you. I know that for a fact because my office is the office that produces that crime data. So we're very happy about that, we're very proud of that. That's data that has never been out there historically.
And we continuously have two types of meetings, two of many meetings at the district level. Those are crime and safety meetings, which actually talk about the crime in your neighborhood if you want to get that monthly. And we also have target team meetings, different groups, information that comes centrally to the district to say, here's your problem areas in your district. How do you handle that? Target team meetings, the district will invite community prosecutors. They'll invite community organizations, community leaders to bring there to work on problem solving, on what ways to address some of the problems in those neighborhoods. That, again, working together and noticing the changes is showing that legitimacy piece.
I would like to just, there's an answer to one of the questions that we had earlier about community meetings, and we have Colleen here who would like to kind of answer that.
Okay, hello. I'm with the St. Joseph Basilica Foundation from Lincoln Village, and I'm following up on your question because, oh my gosh, it's almost going on a year now. The second Tuesday of every month, we have meetings with District 2 Police, with the community members, with the Conquistador Center, with business people, with neighbors. Every Tuesday, second Tuesday of the month from noon to 1 at the lower church at the St. Joseph Basilica. And it's an open meeting. We have 30 to 40 people there. I must say, District 2 Police, 5 or 6 members of the police force show up. We follow up, there's accountability. Every month we go through the issues, and then the next month it's reviewed to make sure the police followed up in the community neighborhood. So, it really works. Yes, there are a lot of problems, but I must say the community sticks together with the police. If we have issues, we go down to the police in District 2. We meet, we talk. I mean, it works both ways. It's the police, it's the community just, holding each other to accountability. And it is working here, so I invite you. I don't know who you are, but the gentleman over there that said that there isn't something in the Southside, come. Every Tuesday we're there from 12 to 1, so please come. Thank you.
And if I can add to that, thank you very much for those comments, because we are seeing success in the Lincoln Village area. And I see I have Captain Yester of District 6. The southern bordering neighborhood is Polonia, which is, I know she is.
That's right, too, yeah, it's larger than that.
Right.
Greenfield, sorry, I like District 6.
Absolutely. But that's how it grows, and that's what we talk about engagement. And I talked Lincoln Village, but it's bigger than that. I know we're pushing it to other areas, and that's why we're seeing success there.
And the alternate comes as well every meeting, so, you know,
Yes.
it's not perfect, but it's still people working, communicating, trying to solve the problems together, and this, at least it's talking.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, this one doesn't have a name on it. It says, if MPD is short-staffed, why are not officers here?
No, it says why are 20+ officers?
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, 20+ off. If MPD is short-staffed, why are 20+ officers here? My apologies.
These are, you're talking about representation from district levels. We are gonna be at community meetings, but here's the problem when you talk about short staff. Let's look at the staff up here. We're salary. We've been working since 7:30 this morning. We're here because that's part of the leadership in the department. If we have to be here together, we're gonna come here to meetings. The leadership in the captain's leadership, their salary, they're here. I would assume that if we're having a town hall meeting and we want to ask law enforcement questions, that we're going to bring law enforcement here. I didn't coordinate this meeting, but people ask, why are there police officers here? Why not?
Because the meeting for you to ask questions, not your office. Chief Morales.
We're a team. We have to as a team, and we work with Chief Morales, and we work with this community.
Doesn't matter if
We'll always
you're
be
not
here
Chief
to work,
Morales.
and support Chief Morales and support the community. That's the work that we do as an executive command and as a command team.
Anyways, moving along about teamwork. This question is,